Hello, friends. I am often asked, why don't you buy yourself a personal car? It's so profitable, so convenient. You are everywhere on time, you move quickly around the city. After all, such an opportunity. I answer, yes, there is an opportunity, but I do not want. I just do not want. Usually in the eyes of such people I immediately see some misunderstanding and surprise. How so? Because it is cool and profitable to have your own personal car. In this video, I want to consider this issue not from the usual point of view, but from a philosophical one. Well, firstly, from the point of view of personal saving money, it is not profitable at all. The costs of insurance, repairs, car maintenance, even refueling, all this is tens or even hundreds of times higher than the usual costs of using public transport. In the city where I live, the public transport network is very developed. Buses, trams, metro, fares are subsidized by the state, and one trip costs less than $1. Taxi is also quite inexpensive, and even in case of some force majeure allows me to get to the right place in the city quickly and with the least expenses. For example, to get to the outskirts of the city, a distance of $50 one per person. Exactly the same trip by personal car will require only for gasoline about $30, if you take into account the cost in both directions. And we will not take into account toll roads, repairs, technical inspections and maintenance of the car. All these are expenses. It is not for nothing that supporters of the FIRE movement, the movement of early retirees, call one of the ways to reduce unnecessary expenses the refusal of a personal car. But this video is not about saving money at all. And not even about my conscious choice in order to save the environment, although this is also very relevant today. Everyone knows that the fewer cars, the less pollution. This is not what we are talking about, but about time. About the perception of time by a person from a philosophical point of view. We are always in a hurry somewhere. And those who are surprised to ask why I do not buy a personal car, although I could, give the same argument, it, as it seems to them, allows you to be everywhere on time. I will answer this simply, philosophically, he who is in no hurry is always on time. Yes, I admit that owning a personal car allows you to move much faster from point to point B, but I suggest you consider time in a comprehensive manner, as our single resource. Unfortunately, this resource is limited, all people have only 24 hours a day. No more and no less. And for those who have a personal car, and for those who for some reason do not have one. Oh, if it were possible to get extra time in life in this way, by buying a car, then I would probably spend any free money I would try to buy myself tens, hundreds of new cars. But, unfortunately, it is impossible. It is simply impossible to buy even a second of extra time, in addition to the 24 hours allotted to each of us. Let's look at a simple example. Let's imagine that every day I get from work by public transport in an hour. I spend an hour on the road. And someone who has a personal car, only 30 minutes. Does this mean that he saves 30 minutes? At first glance, yes. But let's figure it out thoughtfully. I leave the house and calmly get on the bus. During almost the entire hour on the road, I relax, admire the surrounding beauty, the wonderful architecture of the city, read interesting and useful books, learn something important and useful from the internet on my smartphone. If you consider this time spent thoughtfully, then I risk my life less, I am less nervous, after all, being in the bus. Yes, I can also get into an accident, for example, due to the fault of the bus driver, but the probability of this is much less than for someone who is a driver himself. For one simple reason, the speed of the bus is much lower. I'm not even talking about the professionalism of the driver and other factors. But there are other reasons why the stress of driving your car, the fear of getting into a traffic accident harm a person's health. Let's figure it out. A hypothetical comrade, as my opponents claim, saved himself 30 minutes on the road. Is this true? Yes, he will arrive home half an hour earlier. But what will he do when he arrives? He can sit on the couch in front of the TV and will try to compensate for the stress received during the trip by watching TV, idle time. Or, just like me, will start reading something on his smartphone. But where is the saving? Friends, as I have already said, a person has only 24 hours in a day, and not a second more. In a philosophical sense, if we consider our life objectively and holistically, then there is no saving of time in the sense that we imagine it. It is an illusion. A delusion. It is not for nothing that wise people say, make haste slowly, do not rush. It is still unknown who has won, the one who has his own car and claims that it saves time, or the one who uses public transport, communicates with people, spends more time in society, and not alone, holding the steering wheel of his car. Which of these people is right? Who is happier? The answer will not always be unambiguous. Haste and fuss do not lead to well-being. My friends, seeing a well-off person, even a rich one, simply do not understand this logic of thinking. They cannot understand how I, having a driver's license, all the rights to a car, obtained at a young age, having money today and the opportunity to buy even the best car, voluntarily give it up. It just does not fit in my head. In their narrow understanding, a person is unsuccessful if he does not have his own car, has a lower social status. How do you manage to do everything? They ask. I answer, I have time to be everywhere I need to be. I plan every trip in advance, calculate the travel time and, believe me, I don't suffer. Sometimes I use taxi services. It's more likely that you suffer, that you ask me about this so often. Comfort and happiness are not in this. What is this, stereotypical thinking? Or some kind of psychological complexes? By the way, we can also mention the importance of physical activity and a healthy lifestyle. Using a bicycle, public transport, or walking is not only much more economical and less harmful to the environment, but it also allows you to maintain sufficient physical activity. It's one thing to stop at a supermarket after work and load the trunk of your car with a huge amount of food, and another thing to go to a grocery store and carry a small bag of food home in your hands, moving on foot or to a public transport stop. This strengthens muscles, has a beneficial effect on the cardiovascular system, allows a person to be in good shape, not to lead a sedentary lifestyle, but to feel closer to nature, to be more active, which ultimately prolongs life. Simple walking, for example, can increase the level of high-density lipoproteins in human blood, thereby being an effective measure for the prevention of atherosclerosis and most cardiovascular diseases. It is also the best prevention of cancer. Walking, walks in the fresh air. A philosophical view of time and saving time allows you to better understand life, your desires, and better understand the benefits and harms of certain actions. Not everything is as clear as it seems at first glance. I hope these thoughts of mine were useful for you. I do not urge you all to immediately give up personal cars, but I simply gave some arguments, drew attention to what is usually hidden from us and not so obvious. Thank you all for your attention and see you in other videos on this channel. By the way, subscribe, here I share my thoughts and some practical experience on a variety of life issues. If you subscribe, you will not regret it. Thank you, friends. Goodbye.